Hey guys, Evie the Original Master here. So today I've decided that I will be reviewing the first SpongeBob movie, which is simply titled the SpongeBob SquarePants Movie, which was released back in November of 2004. So I'm here to give you guys my in-depth review of this movie, pointing out everything that the movie offers and some quotes in the movie. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting. And later in December, I will be re-reviewing the Sponge Out of Water film, which is the second SpongeBob movie. And if you guys didn't recall from that review, I uploaded that video back in 2016. It was a two-parter video, and I really didn't like the way how I reviewed it because I was acting all crazy and I didn't take the review seriously. So since I am a bit more mature with my videos, I will try my hardest to retain myself from acting all crazy when reviewing this movie. So with that said, let's begin. So the movie begins out in the seven seas where we got the Paramount Pictures logo or words on the screen that says Paramount Pictures Presents, because this is a Paramount Pictures Nickelodeon movies featured film where we see a group of pirates sailing the seven seas. So we got a pirate ship, we got all these pirates doing pirate shenanigans, which was pretty hilarious to see all these pirates doing all these crazy things. And the main pirate found a treasure chest which contained tickets to the SpongeBob movie. So basically, these pirates are actually going to watch the movie themselves. So it's basically a movie within a movie, which is pretty weird, but it kind of works in a way. So then the pirates began to sing the SpongeBob theme song, which I thought it was pretty cool because I do like the movie's variation of the SpongeBob theme song. It's actually really clever and it's really creative. So the pirates arrive at the theater where they hand the tickets to the movie theater cashier, where they get popcorn and starts pouring it all over each other. And so yeah, they sit down to the theater to watch the SpongeBob movie, basically. And so we then get a shot of Bikini Atolls where we got a glance at the French narrator. And then we go underneath to Bikini Bottom where we're at the Krusty Krab, where we've noticed that there's helicopters and police cars surrounding the restaurant. So Mr. Krabs explains to the cops that his fry cook will be arriving pretty soon, which we all know who is SpongeBob because he's the fry cook of the Krusty Krab. So SpongeBob arrives in a limousine. He's like wearing these cowboy boots. I have no clue why he was wearing that. He then comes out with freaking bubbles and crap. Again, that's just SpongeBob's character. It's actually a pretty weird introduction to his character in this film, but it was pretty worth it. So Mr. Krabs then tells SpongeBob that a customer ordered a Krabby Patty with cheese, and then when the customer took a bite of the Krabby Patty, there was no cheese in it. So freaking SpongeBob slaps Mr. Krabs in the face, which was pretty funny. And so SpongeBob then goes into the Krusty Krab to have a word with the customer. And so I'm gonna quote some of the high bits of this scene. So we got SpongeBob walking into the Krusty Krab. He says, "I'm the fry cook of this establishment. Everything's gonna be just fine." And so we got this guy named Phil. He says, "I'm really scared here, man." And SpongeBob then tells, "What's your name?" Phil. Got a family, Phil? Come on, Phil, stay with me. Let's hear about that family. And so Phil says, "I have a wife and two beautiful children." So that's basically what Phil tells to SpongeBob. And then he says, "That's what it's all about. I want you to do me a favor, Phil. Say cheese." So then we got a slow motion shot of SpongeBob placing the cheese on the Krabby Patty, busts his way out of the restaurant with Phil in his arms for some reason. He says order up, and all of the customers of the Krusty Krab cheers and celebrate SpongeBob's hero deeds. So they say three cheers for the new manager, and so they say hip hip hooray. But whenever they said hooray, it was actually SpongeBob's foghorn alarm clock. So yeah, so his alarm clock blast, and so it's actually SpongeBob becoming manager for the Krusty Krab too. Again, I apologize for the weird dialogue for this review. I don't write scripts, and I'm actually am familiar with this movie, so I actually know the whole plot by heart. So SpongeBob then prepares himself to go to the Krusty Krab 2, where he then goes into Squidward's house, where he finds him taking a shower, which was pretty gay. I don't know why Steven Hillenburg and Phil and no Paul Tibbett. I said Phil Tibbett. I'm sorry. Paul Tibbett and Steven Hillenburg written this film, so I don't know why they decided to have SpongeBob and Squidward in the shower together. That was pretty gay. So then afterwards, we get a shot of the Chum Bucket where Plankton is in there, hearing about the Krusty Krab 2, and he wants to have total domination to rule the world. So then he goes into this file cabinet where he finds these folders from A to Y, and then Karen corrects him that there's actually 26 letters in the alphabet by saying Z, and then Karen's like, Z, the letter after Y. So freaking Plankton over here talking about I went to college, and he doesn't know the letters of the alphabet. Like, he forgot Z. Like, boy, how you forgot Z? That's like the last letter of the alphabet. But anyways, he reads Plan Z, which is lemon scented, and so he then barges out of the Chum Bucket screaming, all hail Plankton, and then SpongeBob just crashes into him, and then he's saying, I'm ready, promotion, and then you hear Plankton screaming at the top of his lungs, and so SpongeBob finds Plankton on his shoe, pulls him out, and says, hey, Plankton, are you going to the grand opening ceremony? Plankton's like, no, I'm not going to the grand opening ceremony, I'm here to rule the world, and then SpongeBob's like, good luck with that. I'm like, okay, that was pretty awkward. And then we got a news broadcasting of Perch Perkins and Mr. Krabs. And Mr. Krabs tells Perch that the reason why he built the second Krusty Krab so he can earn money. So this is my biggest problem with the film, is that the Krusty Krab 2 has nothing to do with the plot whatsoever. I mean, it is part of the movie. That's part of the subplot. But the main plot is basically SpongeBob and Patrick getting King Neptune's crown, which I'll get into later. But so yeah. So then Mr. Krabs hails the ceremony where everybody's there. Mrs. Puff is there. Sandy is there. And guess what? Sandy and Mrs. Puff has nothing to do with this movie whatsoever. They're just there as for cameos. And I'm like, if it's called the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, then why isn't Sandy or Mrs. Puff in the movie that much? I mean, come on, Steven Hillenburg. This is the first SpongeBob movie and you're telling me you can't throw in Sandy in the movie? Yeah, that's kind of disappointed. So we got Mrs. Puff over here saying, I paid $9 for this? Well, I paid 10. Sandy, you ain't got no money? Seriously, I bet Sandy probably stole the money from the bank. She probably deposit money from the bank because she knows she ain't got no money because she doesn't have a job. So I don't even know why she paid $10 for this bull crap. But yeah. So Mr. Krabs then announces that the new manager is Squidward. And so someone gets the misunderstanding. So he goes up to the podium, talks to everybody in Bikini Bottom. And then the reason why SpongeBob isn't actually the manager for the Krusty Krab 2 is because that Mr. Krabs thinks that SpongeBob is a kid. Then if you think he's a kid, then why did you hire him in the first place in the Krusty Krab and Help Wanted? I mean, that just doesn't make any sense that Mr. Krabs thinks that SpongeBob is a child, where clearly he's an adult. Like, he's a man-child, basically, because he's an adult that acts like a child. So yeah. Oh yeah, I almost forgot to mention the Patrick and SpongeBob singing the Goofy Goober song, Goofy Goober Ice Cream Party Boat. That garbage. And then we got Patrick's famous quote, "Oh, I love being purple." Yeah, I can't believe I forgot to mention that in the review, but I've already mentioned it, so don't be mad in the comments because I've mentioned Patrick and SpongeBob singing the Goofy Goober song, which we'll get into later in the film. So yeah, SpongeBob isn't manager of the Krusty Krab 2. He's upset. And so we freaking get Patrick over here parachuting through the crowd naked with a flag between his butt cheeks. And then he crashes through the sign. And yeah, so he ruins everything. Yeah, that was pretty weird. And so then afterwards, we then get a glance of Goofy Goober's Ice Cream Party Boat, which returned in Patnocchio from season 11, where everybody's having a good time. The Goofy Goober comes out singing the Goofy Goober song, I'm a Goofy Goober, yeah. You're a Goofy Goober, yeah. We're all Goofy Goobers, yeah. Goofy, 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 yeah. Yeah, that garbage. And then we get SpongeBob at the Nut Bar. Yes, it's called the Nut Bar. This is a PG film. You got freaking nuts. Like, come on now. You don't know how inappropriate that sounds? The Nut Bar. But anyways, we got SpongeBob at the Nut Bar crying because he didn't get the job as the manager. And then Patrick comes out of nowhere. Hey, how's the Krusty Krab 2 manager? And then, yeah, so Patrick then orders SpongeBob a Goofy Goober sunrise to cheer him up. They eat the sundaes, they burp, and they say, hey, waiter, how about another round over here? So they get high off of Goofy Goober sunrise. They pass out on stage with Goofy Goober Peanut. Hey, these are my two best friends in the whole world, Patrick and this big peanut guy. So they freaking pass out on stage, and you got the freaking Goofy Goober worker on the piano just playing away, which I thought was pretty hilarious. And so the next day arrives, and then SpongeBob is actually drunk. He's drunk off of the ice cream. He has like, I don't even know what that stuff is, like crust or mold all over his face. I don't know what that is. So he wakes up, and then the worker says, "Get up, pal. It's 8 in the morning." And so SpongeBob then has to go to work, and then that's when he realizes that Mr. Krabs didn't make him boss for the Krusty Krab 2. So then, afterwards, we then get a glance of King Neptune's castle, where Plankton was going to go there to steal his crown, where we are introduced to King Neptune and Mindy, who is his daughter. So King Neptune and Mindy are ruling Bikini Bottom, doing their royally deeds, basically. And so there's actually a reason why King Neptune wears his crown is because he's bald. And then King Neptune keeps making the point that he isn't bald. So Mindy gets a hair in a can and tries to spray hair on King Neptune, which ended up getting all over his eyes. So that's where Plankton steals the crown, and then King Neptune wants to grab his crown, which ended up to be a paper bag, and that's when he found out that his crown is missing, and then he goes into an all-caps rage. Then Plankton flies away with the crown, and that's where we get a glance back to the Krusty Krab, where SpongeBob comes in. So he yells at Mr. Krabs for not making him a manager, and this is actually one of the best moments in the movie where SpongeBob said, "I am 100% man, and this man has got to say something to you." Sticks his tongue out, does a raspberry thing, and that's where King Neptune arrives at the Krusty Krab, telling Mr. Krabs that he stole his crown. And there's actually a really funny moment where there was an answering machine right next to Mr. Krabs saying, "Hi, I am Mr. Krabs and I stole Neptune's crown." And we got Mr. Krabs bashing on the answering machine, destroying it. And that's where King Neptune was about to roast him. He was about to fire him with his trident. So King Neptune has his trident. He's about to burn Mr. Krabs. SpongeBob turns back to normal when he finds out that King Neptune was burning Mr. Krabs. And Mr. Krabs says, "I'm on fire. Me underwear." No, wait. First he says, "My pants are on fire. My underwear is on fire. I'm on fire." So he falls into a pool of water. And that's where SpongeBob and Patrick had the idea to get King Neptune's crown back. Now, before I move on, I'm going to mention this one funny moment with SpongeBob and King Neptune and the Krusty Krab, which we all know that was coming. Bald, and we got freaking Fred over here. My eyes! Yeah, that's all I have to say. Anyways, so SpongeBob and Patrick goes to Shell City on the paddy wagon, which is his only appearance in this movie. It only appeared in the movie. It didn't appear anywhere else in the show. I do hope they bring back the paddy wagon for a future episode, like in season 12 or something. But that would be a really cool callback if they brought back the paddy wagon. So SpongeBob and Patrick drives in the paddy wagon to Shell City, where Patrick then begins making jokes about it, saying, "Hey, I thought you don't have a license." You don't need a license to drive a sandwich. And we all remember that quote. We also got the pickle wheels, the French fry oil for the motor and whatnot. So SpongeBob and Patrick then drives out to the roads where they find these redneck hillbilly guys. They look like they're from Tennessee or Alabama or some garbage. Where it says, "Which will it be, fellas? Ketchup or mustard?" They slap their legs together. They start laughing like rednecks. Patrick's like, "They're laughing at us." They're not laughing at us. We're laughing with them. So basically, they tell SpongeBob and Patrick that the road to Shell City is really dangerous, and that's where SpongeBob and Patrick then pulls the prank on them. They got this air horn. They blow on the air horn and they start laughing back at the rednecks, and the rednecks are like, "Well, they're dead," and then they drive away basically because they're trying to go to Shell City. So then, as they were going to Shell City, we got moments with Plankton and Mr. Krabs, where Mr. Krabs is actually turning into frozen solid from King Neptune, basically, because he was planning to kill him. And that's where Plankton shows up when King Neptune freezes Mr. Krabs. So Then we got SpongeBob and Patrick going to Shell City in their paddy wagon, where Patrick was making jokes saying, "We're going on a baby hunt, and we don't know how to weed them out." So yeah, they was making jokes like that. There was one moment where they were driving to Shell City. This one tough guy came out of nowhere saying, "Out of the car, fellas." So SpongeBob and Patrick got out of the paddy wagon. The thug jumps in the paddy wagon and drives away with their car. SpongeBob, Patrick, this is why you don't trust nobody out in those streets. They're so dumb. So they have to go find their car, the paddy wagon, and yeah, so they found the Tug Thug place where their car was at, and they were like, "Hey, look, Patrick, our car!" And they make these gay faces. We all know that scene. And so they're gonna try to find a way to go inside to get the key. So they find the car, but the key isn't there. So they were going to the Tug Thug to get the key. And there's like this one funny moment where Patrick said, "I know, we're sneaking there." And then minutes later, you hear a guy in the background, "What are you looking at?" And they start hearing punch sounds in the background. I thought that was pretty funny. And so they barge into the Tug Thug. And then Patrick's like, "Can I have everybody's attention? Where's your bathroom at?" Right over there. And they got SpongeBob over here. Stupid contacts. I'm like, that is like a really funny scene of the movie. That was actually really funny, hilarious, and I just couldn't stop laughing at that. So SpongeBob then just goes into the bathroom and tells Patrick, "That was your former distractment? I have to use the bathroom." I'm like, okay. And so SpongeBob ends up finding the keys, and then he finds the soap dispenser of the bathroom, starts pushing on it like this, and then they start having a gaily bubble party in the bathroom. And that's where one of the members of the Tug Thug, I think he's the leader, I'm assuming, is saying, "Hey, who blew this bubble?" So yeah, and then they had this like this little motto saying, "All bubble blowing babies will be beaten senselessly in the bar," something like that. And he says, "Well, who blew it?" So SpongeBob and Patrick are in the bathroom popping all the bubbles. Oh my god, this dude threw a freaking chair in the. It's like, this dude just threw a chair. The tough guy just threw a chair, saying, "Shut up." He throws a chair. All ended up killing the dude. That's where we see SpongeBob and Patrick escaping from the bathroom, leaving the Tug Thug. But nope, not here. So the tough guy, the leader, was gonna prove them if they're babies, if they're baby enough. And so you got the DJ over here putting on a record, playing the Goofy Goober theme song. So if they were going to be man enough, they were not allowed to sing the song. So they were trying not to sing it, which was hilarious. Then we got these two-headed guys over here saying, "Goofy, Goofy, Goofy, Goober, yeah." And that was hilarious. Oh my god, that was actually a highlight of the movie. And then, so SpongeBob and Patrick managed to escape, and that's where they find the key, and they just drive off. They drive off so they could go to Shell City. And that's where they find Mindy. So basically, they find Mindy, and then they realize that that she was telling them that Bikini Bottom has gotten worse since Plankton has taken over. So Plankton actually puts chum bucket helmets over everybody because he was gonna have total domination. So Squidward finds out about this. Actually, he actually is on his little bicycle, which returned in many other episodes, such as it came from Goo Lagoon. It also appeared again in Patrick the Game. And those are just a few examples of episodes that Squidward's weird bicycle was in SpongeBob throughout the years. So yeah, Squidward actually knows about Plankton's plan. So he barges into the chum bucket, catches him, and that's where Plankton pulls out a remote, pushes the button, and all these bucket helmets drops on the customers, turning them into zombies. So yeah, that was basically what Plankton was trying to do. He was trying to have world domination. And so, SpongeBob and Patrick are out in the middle of the road. They still haven't found Shell City yet until they found an ice cream place where this old lady was giving them ice cream, and that's where it was the Cyclops. So it was basically the Cyclops and whatnot. And actually, Plankton actually hired somebody to stop them on their tracks, which is probably the best villain in the whole SpongeBob series, Dennis. Yes, Dennis is basically the villain of this movie, who is actually going to stop SpongeBob and Patrick from getting the crown to Shell City. So Dennis was following them throughout this movie, where he's like this tough biker guy with spiked boots, he has a bandana, he has like a little knife, he isn't playing around. He actually found those two rednecks that we saw earlier in the movie. He ripped their mouths out of their faces and drove away. Pretty tough guy, if you ask me. So yeah, SpongeBob and Patrick are being chased by the Cyclops weird lady who is giving them the ice cream. And yes, they were actually in deep danger. So, afterwards, they fall into like a trench. They fall like into a deep trench where they notice that they can't get to Shell City because they're kids. And that's where Mindy comes along. And yes, I know I'm repeating stuff that I already said, but I just don't care. It's because that I am going to review this movie and get it out the way. So if I do repeat myself again, just deal with it, okay? I'm not going to go on Wikipedia or the ESB and look up the full chronological order of the events of this film, is because that I just don't have the time for that. So just deal with it. So yeah, anyways, yeah, Mindy tells them about Plankton taking over Bikini Bottom and turns them into men by slapping seaweed mustaches on them. And that's where they sing the Now That We're Men song, which you guys don't know is actually the lyric version of Fight, Fight, Fight A, which is the APM track of the SpongeBob series. So it's like da 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 that garbage. And so yeah, after the song, that's where Dennis finds them. So Dennis actually had some really good lines in this movie. I thought you had a piece of salad stuck to your face from lunchtime. And he says, they were fake? Of course they were fake. This is what a real mustache looks like. So in the SpongeBob universe, if you want to grow a mustache, just make a really grumpy face, just like grunt, and pff, there's a mustache. And so Dennis was about to crush them with his spiked boots, and that's where the real Cyclops comes out of nowhere, which is this giant. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know if it's a scuba diver or something. I'm gonna call it a scuba diver. I don't know I don't know what it's called. The guy with the giant helmet. And because I know it's not a scuba mask, because a scuba mask is like a little tube thing that you put in your mouth and bubbles come out of from the top. That's a scuba mask, but I don't know what that giant thing is. I'm still gonna call it a scuba diver thing because I don't know what it is. So yeah, that's where he comes out of nowhere. He then grabs SpongeBob and Patrick and takes him to Shell City. I don't know if he's supposed to be a good guy or a bad guy, but I don't know. But the visuals there was actually pretty good. That was actually some really good visuals in that scene where the weird scuba guy grabs SpongeBob and Patrick and takes them to Shell City. So they arrived in Shell City, basically, and SpongeBob and Patrick noticed that Shell City is filled with all these other fishies, all these other sea crustaceans. To notice that Shell City is a gift shop, meaning that somebody goes underwater, grabs the sea creatures and a crustacean and makes knickknacks out of them. So that's what SpongeBob and Patrick realized the dangers of Shell City. So the scuba guy grabs them and puts them under a lamp, which then burns them because the lamp has so much radiation, it actually shrivels them up. So this is actually a really heartbreaking segment to see SpongeBob and Patrick slowly dying. And we then get a glance at the pirates who are watching the film crying. So then the sprinklers of the Shell City gift shop turns on and sprays on SpongeBob and Patrick, and they're alive. They turn back to normal. And since the sprinkler turns them back to normal, all of the knickknacks in the Shell City gift shop comes to life. And one of them are like a mariachi band playing the Mexican hat dance, while the other sea crustaceans beats the crap out of the scuba guy. So SpongeBob and Patrick actually leaves out of Shell City gift shop, which they have a bag of wins, which was given to Mindy. So SpongeBob then reads the directions of how to operate the bag of wins, and because of Patrick's stupidity, he does everything that SpongeBob tells him to. Patrick, he was reading the directions. That doesn't mean you do it right away. He was reading the directions to make sure if it will work right. You see, this is exactly why this movie needed more characters like Sandy or Squidward or somebody. But seriously, this is the first SpongeBob movie, and already the character selections weren't that great. But yeah, so the bag of wins goes away because of Patrick's dumbness. And so SpongeBob and Patrick has no clue how to get back to Bikini Bottom. And then out of nowhere, through the sandy beaches of California or whatever state this was filmed at, was David Hasselhoff with his little surfboard running down through the sandy beaches, and yeah, that was actually pretty good. That was actually really good cinematography right there. And so David Hasselhoff was actually going to take SpongeBob and Patrick back to Bikini Bottom. That's right. And yeah, so then we go back to Bikini Bottom actually, where the zombies were about to attack Mr. Krabs and the others and Mindy and whatnot. And now we get one final confrontation of Dennis, where SpongeBob says, "Ah, Dennis, did you miss me?" I'm like, wow, that's actually a really good comeback joke right there. So Dennis, SpongeBob, and Patrick have this one epic final battle where freaking Dennis grabs his knife and stabs David Hasselhoff either in the leg or the buttocks. I think it was his buttocks. And then David Hasselhoff was like, "Whoa, take it easy back there, guys." I'm like, that was pretty funny. And so they were about to go underneath I don't know, it's like a dock or something, either a dock or a boat or something. I'm guessing it's a dock. So they go underneath the dock, and David Hasselhoff freaking gets crushed by the dock, and that's how he died. That's literally how he dies in this film. And then Patrick's like, "See you later." I'm like, okay. And this is where things get really weird. So David Hasselhoff arrives at Bikini Atolls, takes SpongeBob and Patrick, and slaps him in his chest, and he was gonna... I don't even know how to describe this scene. This is so weird. But yeah, that happens. And they fly out of his chest, go underneath the Bikini Bottom, and they arrive safe and sound, right before Plankton was about to kill them. So SpongeBob then breaks into a singing number, singing Goofy Goober Rock, destroys all the bucket helmets, and everybody lives happily ever after, where Plankton gets thrown into jail, SpongeBob becomes manager of the Krusty Krab 2, and everybody lives happily ever after, and that was the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. I know I kind of rushed to the ending, but I don't want to make this video any longer. So yeah, childhood-wise, this actually was a pretty good movie in my opinion. A lot of people love this movie a lot. In fact, this is actually everybody's favorite Nickelodeon movie as a child, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie. And if I had to pick this over the second film, Sponge Out of Water, I still think the second film is better, but both films, SpongeBob Movie 1 and SpongeBob Movie 2, Sponge Out of Water, both have their flaws and their similarities. Well, not similarities. I meant to say their flaws and their highlights, basically. That's what I meant to say. So I have to rank the SpongeBob SquarePants movie, the first one. I'll probably give it a 7 out of 10. It's an okay film. I wouldn't say meh, it's because it's not that boring. I mean, there are some good things about the film, but I just give it a 7 out of 10. It's an okay movie. It's not the greatest thing out there, but it's pretty okay, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my review on the first SpongeBob movie. What are your thoughts about this film? And what film you think is better, the second movie, Sponge Out of Water, or the first movie, the SpongeBob SquarePants movie? Let me know in the comments below, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.